Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Sharon Kelly Speaks. Today we're going to talk about the blended family with co-parenting and visitation. I have Candice with us today to talk about her blended family. Thank you for joining us today, Candice.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
I want to first start by saying thank you for allowing me this platform to share with you, my feelings, my experiences, scenarios, situations that I've experienced. So thank you for this time.
You're welcome.
I do have 3 beautiful children. My oldest is 15. I have and he has a different dad.
Okay.
And I also have 2 other children with my husband, and one of them, my son is 12, and then I have a daughter, and she is 11.
Okay. So you have, so let me make sure I understand. So you're married, you have a son from a previous relationship, and you and your husband have 2 children together.
We do.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right.
I've experienced a lot of visitation situations and custody and support situations with my oldest son's father. We initially started with visitation back when he was 1 year old.
Okay.
We established visitation then. When he turned 5 years old, because his age changed and he went to elementary school, we had to alter his visitation schedule because he was no longer to visit with his dad on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay.
He was now going to be in school full time, Monday through Friday. So we eventually, when my son was 5 years old, we went back and did just altered the visitation schedule at the time.
Okay.
At that time, again, he chose not to have any weekend visitation. It was just weekday and no overnight. And that's just what worked with our schedule. That's what worked for me. I was working on the weekends at the time. And, that's just what worked best for our family.
Okay.
When he became, involved in sports and things at the church and other activities, those also became a factor, and we also had to filter that schedule in as well. So when he was around 11 years old, we went again back to court to have it altered again.
Okay.
We just basically I apologize, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, we just basically kind of arranged it based on his age, his schedule, what worked best for him. Was dinner going to be shared with you, or is it going to be at my house? Things of that nature. So that's just what worked for us.
Okay, and so when you did the schedule change due to him being in school and then due to the sports and whatnot, did you share the responsibility of taking him to sports, or did you do that because you were the primary custodial parent, or did he participate in that during the time he had him during his visitation?
The majority of it did fall on my shoulders.
Okay.
I am the custodial parent, so his schedule, the structure, more so came from my side.
Okay.
However, maybe if his dad was a little more active or requested more time, or things of that nature, I guess I would say, then of course of open arms, sure, go for it. However, he was a little distant, and he chose not to play certain roles and be as active in our child's life. So that's just what worked for my particular situation. And
now, how did your son feel about the visitation schedule? Was he comfortable with it? Did he want more time? Did he not want the time that he had? How was it I imagine at the beginning he probably didn't really know much. It was just what he, because you said that you guys had that visitation schedule from, how old was he?
He was 1 year old when we initially had our first.
Okay, and so was there a time where he was wanting more time or less time? How did that happen?
I think with everyone, we all go through different changes and different situations and scenarios. For my son, he wanted more time, and then there were some times that he didn't want, or I want to be with my friends today, or so we eventually kind of played it by ear. There were a few times that he came to pick up and he was just so consumed with playing basketball with his friends. Of course, this could be done any day, any time, any hour you can play basketball with your friends.
Right.
However, his dad was understanding and was like, okay, I'll see you, tomorrow, or I'll see you next week, or whatever the case. So, again, it was kind of played by ear.
Okay.
But yes, there were times where he didn't want to go, and there were times where he wanted to go, but his dad didn't show, or situations like that. Just many different scenarios.
Okay.
I want to say that it never was structured and by the book and to the time and the minute and the hour.
Okay.
Situations happen. Oh, he's got a doctor's appointment. Oh, he's sick today. He's not going anywhere. Or I didn't want for him to have a virus or something of that nature, something contagious, and then he take it back to his dad's house and then get everybody there infected and
Right.
we don't want everybody sick.
Right.
So, we just, again, we kind of played it by ear. Some days were better than others, and some feelings were hurt or whatever the case, but.
Right. It sounds like you guys had a very good system as far as working out the visitation, and it seems like it was you both understood, it was in the best interest of your son.
I would really love to say that.
Okay.
In a perfect world, that is what I would say. But it seems like as he got older, the relationship got worse between he and I, and feelings or whatever, or him not feeling like he was getting enough time, or him not wanting enough time or requesting enough time, or I didn't want to be that mom, that woman, that female,
Right.
no, you're not taking my son, or, so I tried to extend as much time as possible, but sometimes it just didn't work out that way.
Right.
The relationship got messy, it got nasty, and with God, we're gonna pull through.
Right.
Eventually, he is going to grow up and get married and have children. And before in the past, we would do your birthday at your house, and I'll have a birthday party for him at my house. Well, I'm only planning for one wedding.
Right.
So we're going to eventually have to be at that wedding together.
Exactly.
We're going to eventually be at the birth of his new child in the hospital together.
Right.
I would love to see all four parents get together and be able to take a graduation picture together.
Right.
And prayerfully, maybe, hopefully, that day will come.
Right.
But as of right now, I don't see that happening today or tomorrow.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with all of this, is your son handling the change?
He's getting older.
Okay.
He's at that age to where a lot of his friends soften the blow for him for his time away from his dad, or when things aren't right at home.
Okay.
He has a social life, and I try to grant as much time with his social life. Definitely still bring it back home because it's about family.
Right.
But also giving him the chance to have his friends feel that void of his dad not being there, or him not being able to go to his dad's house this particular week, or things in that sense.
So you try to find healthy things to do to occupy that time, so that he's not dwelling on that.
Yes, sports is number one on his list. Maybe not so much in mine, but in his list, sports number one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can totally relate to a lot of what you're saying. As you know, I have a blended family, and my children's father's involvement with them as far as the schedule and whatnot, and being flexible with that, and not, like you said, being that mom, that says no, or being strictly by the book. You want to give a lot of flexibility as possible, because you understand that your role is just as important as the father's role, or vice versa. If you're in a home where it's the father who has the child and the mother is the non-custodial parent, both parents have a very vital role in the child's life. And even though you have your bonus dad or your bonus mom, there's nothing like the biological, parent.
This is true.
and and you want to foster that relationship. You want that relationship to be healthy, because in the long run, there are things that as adults that we tend to do to fill that void when we don't have our parent in our lives. You have a lot of fathers out there who do want to be in their children's lives. You have a lot of mothers out there who do want to be in their children's lives, and then the other parent is preventing that for whatever reason, whether it's bitterness or whether most of the time it is bitterness, but you're right, it could be
safety
because of safety.
Be a factor.
Safety could definitely be a factor.
Stable home, not being structured,
exactly.
Whatever the case,
right. And in whatever the case is, it's still not the best for the child in the sense of they desire both of their parents. Now, obviously, if it's an unsafe situation, it is best for that child not to be with them. But even, you'll find even with statistics, even children who are in those kind of situations, they still desire to be with both of their parents.
Right.
You know? So I think it's as moms, as dads who are the primary custodial parents, we have to do our due diligence to try to encourage the relationship with the other parent, even if they're not consistent. Even if they, are not operating up to the part that we believe they are. I know some moms will, hold back visitation for child support. I was not one who did that because at the end of the day, the kids don't really know who's paying the bills. They just know that they're getting paid. They know they're eating. They know they have clothes. They know they can go to the movies and the sports. They're not really. They don't have a budget where they're saying, okay, mom's paying that, dad's paying that, and when you tell them, they really don't care. They just want the bill paid. They just they want to know that when they come home, the lights and water's on. They have food to eat, and that's all they want. That's all that, and they have snacks. That's all.
Right.
So I think I think what you're doing is great, and I commend you for that.
Thank you.
In spite of what we always want things to be better, and we strive for that. And,
of course.
And we're going to pray and continue to pray that relationship continues to mend and grow, because he does have a huge impact.
Yeah, he does.
And as parents, we are the example to our children of the kind of parents they may one day be.
Oh yeah.
I tease my kids all the time, and I say, your parents are either going to be a role model of what to do or what not to do. But we're going to be one of them.
Exactly.
So, and my goal is always to be what to do.
Exactly.
But if I'm doing the wrong thing, then you look at it as what not to do.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And so how is your relationship, your son's relationship with your husband, with his bonus dad?
Well, that relationship has definitely grown and prospered and bloomed into something absolutely wonderful. Definitely a little rockier in the beginning. I want to say more in the adolescent years.
And you probably didn't see that coming, right? Because you probably thought, because he was at the very beginning, essentially.
Yes, he's been in my son. My husband has been in my son's life since he was 1 year old. So and he knew initially that he was getting a package deal. Right. It wasn't just you and your son. Right. It's always been our or us or we.
Praise God for that. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
Because you do have some step families that are struggling with that, where the acceptance of the stepchild is not just in the home, but with the family members, So we'll talk about that a little later on. But with there was a time where it was a little rocky.
Yeah, there was definitely a time where it was a little more foggier, I guess I'll use. Then bright, clear, sunny spring day kind of thing. Right. One issue that played a huge factor in my particular situation was the siblings. My son has siblings obviously on my side. He has siblings on his dad's side. Right. And when there was a time period where he did not see his siblings on his dad's side, and it literally crushed his world. I saw the pain and the hurt in him, and that hurt me because I'm the baby of 10. So I have a strong relationship with all of my siblings. And for him to not have that. That hurt me. Right. More so it hurts him. At the end of the day, every decision you make, whether it be in the courts, whether it be one-on-one or by yourself, it affects the child.
Right.
100%. That's
Right.
the number one thing that I've learned in this entire situation. That's the only lesson learned here. Every decision you make affects that child. He is the only he or she is the only factor.
Right.
Is the children.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're totally right in that. And I think we at times will, in the moments where we're angry or frustrated or upset about the situation, because whether it's the relationship didn't work out or the person moved on and we can't handle that, we oftentimes will sometimes make the child essentially pay for that. We call ourselves trying to make the ex pay for it, but it really is the child.
Very true.
Excuse me.
This is very true.
Yes. So, but I think that what you said is golden. It's a lesson learned, from it. Not just
the child involved, but also the siblings. There were times where he would share stories about his siblings on that side missing him or crying or wanting to be with him. Same thing on my side as well.
Right.
There were times where he would be with his dad for a week. And my children they would sleep in his bed while he was gone. Yeah, they did.
So
where did this come from? But
so sweet.
But they may not be vocal and tell
Right.
you, oh, I miss my brother, but when I wake up and I see you
in his bed
laid across in your brother's bed because he's away, you know.
Right.
That definitely hits home.
Right. And I think a lot of people don't realize that in a blended family, it's not just the even just the biological parents that are impacted. It's the bonus parents. It's the siblings, like you said.
The pets.
And the pets.
The pets are involved. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I think we sometimes forget that it's like what you said earlier. Every decision that we make, it affects the children one way or another, and the siblings a lot of times will be forgotten about. We think that
that's true.
We think that during visitation, when they're away from home, that it's only the parents that are impacted. It's the children as well. I know when my bonus son isn't here, my children are always saying, okay, when is he coming back? When is he coming back?
Oh yeah.
When is he going to be home? And my 10-month-old, when she hears him on the phone talking to his dad, she's like laughing and smiling and coming to the phone because she recognizes that voice. So at a very young age, they get that connection. No matter the age,
definitely.
they know their siblings, they know they're related. And in our home, we don't say stepsister, stepbrother. No, it's y'all are siblings. Period.
That's it. That's all.
That's how they operate. And so, even though my children are teenagers, they still ask. They still miss. Even my adult children still call. And ask. Because when in a intact home, obviously they're there all the time. But when they're not, and when it's not an intact home and it's a blended family, you're dealing with the transition of 1 week they're on, 1 week they're off, 2 days they're on, 2 days they're off, 1 day you see them, 1 day you don't.
Oh, wow.
And that's it affects the entire family, And so I think we have to be even sensitive to that and even engage the children, help them understand it, because then they go to school and they see an intact family and their siblings are there, every day of the week. They don't have that breaking point or that stop. And sometimes you have it where even when they're away and they're at their the non-custodial parent's home, they're still able to call. They're still able to talk to you at the time. But then you have other times where they're not able to do that. And whether it's because the non-custodial parent won't allow it, the non-custodial parent may not be encouraging it, or the child just may not be old enough to make the call. And so you have that waiting time until that's able to happen. But everyone is impacted by it. And it can be a transition for people and for everyone involved.
Even the pets.
Like you said,
2 dogs.
And you said even the pets. So you've experienced that
Oh
with the dogs.
yes,
Okay.
even the dogs are running to the door and
he's
sniffing
back,
and jumping. He's back.
He's back.
Oh yeah. There's
Yes.
definitely a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. So that's awesome. awesome. And so, you talk about how he interacts with his bonus dad, and they have a great relationship.
They do. They do.
That's very good. And what about how was it? Because you said you guys got together when he was 1.
Mm-hmm.
How was it with blending with your in-laws from your side as well as his side?
This is probably the golden part of the relationship. My mommy-in-law gained an early relationship with my son. I would wake up and my child was gone. They would already be at the grocery store, or they were already at the toy store, or back home making breakfast, and I'm waking up on a Saturday morning to the smell of bacon in the air.
Oh wow!
And and my mommy-in-law has got him already in the kitchen, and making breakfast. So. And he initially started calling her Gamma because he couldn't pronounce it. Okay. He calls my mom Mama. Okay. Everybody calls my mom Mama. Mm-hmm. So grandkids didn't matter. She was Mama. Right. So when he got the chance to call her Grandma, he couldn't say it. So it was Gamma. Gamma. I literally still have her programmed in my phone to this very day. Not as mommy-in-law, but as Gamma. Okay. So she initially opened that door. That was her grandson. Okay. And this was before we even got married. So
wow, that's a blessing.
Yeah,
that was definitely a blessing.
That was an awesome relationship.
Right.
Still going strong.
Good, excellent. And how about for him on your side? With your parents?
With my husband, or I mean, they just accepted him with open arms. Good. He was a part of the family from day one. Right. Still is. Still going strong. But so it's all in love. But that's what you're going to receive from my side of the family. It's so many of us. Right. Like I said, 10 siblings, or I'm one of 10, and it's nothing but love. Cookout, fun, Christmas, Thanksgiving, everything. It's just it's always a fun time. That's
a blessing because I know a lot of our listeners are going to listen in and they're going to say they don't have that wonderful story of their relationship with in-laws. It's when we talk about the transition of dealing with blended families in the home, you also have that issue sometimes with in-laws, with relatives who are not as welcoming, to the blend. It may be hard for them to accept the bonus children as their grandchildren, and they may not outwardly say, we don't accept, but you'll know because they're not doing what you just said. Exactly. They're not spending that time. They're not getting to know them. They're not. And to me that I think that helps with the blend too. I think even in your situation when you talk, your mother-in-law embraced your son at the very beginning.
From day one.
Didn't care how you and your husband got together. From day one. Didn't care how you met. Didn't care about the past. Didn't care about any of that. None of that. She cared about the now that you were now family and embraced him as that. There wasn't there wasn't a division. And I think many times if that division exists, it makes it difficult for the entire family to blend because you think the children aren't paying attention, but they know. They're paying attention. Oh yeah. And they will respond to the in-laws based on how welcome they feel as part of being the family. Yeah. And that can either cause damage in the family or it can cause the family to grow and blend the way it should when there is unity all across the board. Right. From your side of the family, from his side of the family. I love hearing stories like that because it's not enough of that. It's not enough people saying, hey, I love my in-laws. Hey, I love, I love them. I have a great relationship with them. Even in intact families, you have that situation where you look on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, they're talking about their in-laws. They're saying negative things about. I'm glad you pointed that out because
it doesn't even necessarily have to be an intact family. It is an in-law is an in-law. Exactly. And you have some people that mention their in-laws and they make this face or
Right.
Thank God.
Right.
I love my in-laws.
Praise
My
God.
mommy-in-law
Right.
and my papa-in-law.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a blessing. Yes. Yeah. So I think it's healthy to share these positive stories because you don't hear enough of it. You know, I love my in-laws as well, and you know, in our situation, my children were much older when my husband and I married. So I think it was I want to say, I guess, maybe difficult for them to embrace it the way I would have expected them to.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Both sides, you know, for my children as well as for my in-laws. And I think that comes with what you have to expect. That I think when you come in a situation where your children are much older, when I say much older, they were like I want to say 15, 16, you know, and 14. My younger two, a little different process than what my older ones were.
Right.
Because again, teenagers already, they're at that iffy stage.
Yes.
You know,
they have an opinion.
Right.
They
have an opinion. Exactly.
They have feelings.
Exactly.
And that should be a factor. And
right.
yes, of
right.
course.
And you have to respect all of that. You can't push it. You can't push it. You have to, you know, be willing to accept and understand. And that's another thing with a blended family is I learned this early on is that I came in the door with these high expectations, these expectations that really didn't make sense for the circumstance. And I think sometimes that happens in blended families where you have the expectation that, you know, the biological father and the bonus dad are going to kick it and hang out, or that, you know, and I don't know, maybe you felt the same.
Not on my end.
You said but did you ever think that at the beginning? Did you ever think or dream? Maybe dream. Did you ever dream?
Would always hope that could be.
Because for you and your ex's wife, you could, if things hadn't happened in a negative way, things that occurred had not occurred, right, you probably would have been able to have a good, healthy relationship.
I'm sure I would have.
Right. Yes. And so for me, that's what I mean is that I went in with this, you know, kumbaya feeling that, you know, everybody's going to get along, everybody's going to be wonderful, this is going to be perfect, you know, and but I think people do that even in intact families. You know, they get married and they think they're not going to have a problem ever. Yeah. And I think even in my situation when I got married, I thought, oh, this is